Hi, this is Brad with Baker County Trash Pickup. Today's video is sponsored by Jobber, but we'll cover that later. The important thing you need to know, if you haven't seen any of these videos, is that my wife and I started a trash pickup company a few months ago whenever Waste Management left our rural county in Northeast Florida. We started picking trash with a dump trailer. We bought 200 trash cans, started a new company. We just purchased a trash truck last week. Well, you saw it last week. It's been about a month since we purchased it. In this video, you're seeing the very first route that we use the trash truck for. I will be interrupting this voiceover multiple times for any time I talk in the footage that you see in the background, because this garbage truck was not working the way it was supposed to. There was definitely a learning curve in figuring out how to get it to operate in the manner in which it should. You're going to see me not looking very happy these first half dozen houses. The controls are going to be going very slow. If you're somebody who knows about trash, you're going to see a lot of things that you can give pointers on. Give me a few weeks to get all the bugs sorted out. I'm already learning the sequence of events that'll make things a little bit quicker, so feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments below, but just realize I may have already gotten a little bit quicker and figured some things out on my own over the last 4 weeks that we've been using the truck. If you have questions about the truck, go and watch the video that I did specifically on the truck. That should answer almost anything you could come up with. When I first started out, my goal for this company was to purchase a side load truck. If you don't know, that's a trash truck that has an arm on the side that lifts the can and puts it in, tips it itself. It only needs one person driving, and that person doesn't really need to get out if everything's going the way it's supposed to. Those trucks are extremely expensive, and my wife did not feel comfortable with shelling out that much money, which was a good choice. So I said, fine, I'll compromise if you can drive for me. Before we got that rear load truck, we were using a dump trailer pulled by our truck. And so I said, well, you can drive that and I'll throw the trash into the dump trailer. She never really got comfortable with driving that truck and trailer, which I don't blame her. There's some pretty tight turns, and there's some reversing, and there's some 3-point turns, and the truck is very long, and so is the trailer. So it wasn't something that was great for a beginner to be thrown into. For the first few months, I ended up just driving and throwing the trash, and she ran our phone that has Jobber software on it. So Jobber is software that you can use for your home service business. It's called a CRM, Consumer Relationship Management Software. It allows you to store information about your clients, about folks asking for estimates. You can send them invoices, you can send them agreements to look at. So something's not right. It's saying push both handles in, and when I do that, the PTO cuts out. I don't know why the PTO's cutting out. Emergency stop's not in. Fast idle button's not working either. So I think something might have. And these things aren't kicking out. I don't know, we'll figure it out. You can process all of your billing through there. You run all your scheduling through there. The most helpful thing for me, I need all of those in order to run this garbage business, but the most helpful thing is the routing. So if I have been driving the route for 2 months, and now my wife is, because she's got this garbage truck that she can drive, she's going to be familiar with the routes and where to go because she's been seeing it. There's a fast idle button that is not doing anything now. It worked at the factory when I got it, but I don't know, it's not doing anything now. PTO sounds like it's about to shut off. If I didn't have that software where it would just pull up the next visit, and if she didn't know where it was, she could just tap it and it would pull it up in maps, so you've got directions right there on your smartphone for you to see, it would be much more difficult to run this business. So if you are thinking of starting a trash pickup company, I'm not going to say you have to have software or that you have to have Jobber, because you really don't. But I think if you want to grow it to any respectable level, if you value your sanity and your time more than money, you should definitely give it a try. So Like any of these videos where we talk about Jobber, there's a link in the description where you can get a free trial and then a discount after. That way you can see what it's about, you can try it out, you can ask me any questions you might have on it, and if it works for you, great, you're going to get it at a little bit better rate. And if not, no harm, no foul, at least you tried it. That software has made the transition much easier for her to start driving this garbage truck, which she has from day one. The only time I drive this truck is when I'm coming home from the landfill. She doesn't like driving in the landfill. So once we get to the landfill, I'll switch places with her. I'll drive onto the scale. I'll dump the trash at the landfill, drive off the scale, and drive home. I'll fill it up with gas on the way. And then once we get home, I clean it all out, all that good stuff. But she's driving all the other times when we're on the route, which is really nice because as we've been doing this for 4 weeks now, you're only seeing the first week, but I think we've ran 4 weeks with the truck. It's really nice to be able to have somebody who's just focused on driving and running the Jobber app. All right, so the difference I think was I didn't have the parking brake pulled. So let's see. All I have to think about is the trash pickup and then also filming, which that's another thing you're going to have to be patient with me on. I'm trying to figure out the best camera positioning, how many cameras. Somebody asked for POV, so I tried that last week, which you'll see in about 3 weeks. I don't really like it. I think it makes me a little too motion sick to watch it, but I think there's some kind of setting on my GoPro called Hyper Smooth, which I don't believe I had on. I'm going to try and do. So I'm experimenting with things, all that to say. So just bear with me over the next month or so as I get the ropes of filming this trash truck and running this trash truck. But yeah, we've got the trash truck and you can see it running. I don't know if I've been talking long enough yet where we figured out the issue on the video. If we haven't, it's going to look like this was a mistake because everything's going really slow. But I got to tell you, once we figured it all out, it is a dream throwing trash in this thing. I don't think I realized how efficient it would be. In my mind, I had it set at the beginning that I wanted that side load truck, and that's what was going to be the most efficient thing. And it didn't make sense to do like a rear load if a side load was the end goal, because the rear load would just be a waste of money and it wouldn't be that much more efficient. I was 100% wrong on that. What I was thinking in my mind was that me slinging trash manually in the dumpster was like push mowing a lawn. And then if I got a rear load truck, that would be like getting a much bigger push lawn mower. So it's back to being slow. And then the side load truck would be like a 0-turn lawn mower in terms of efficiency. So I was like, well, if I'm push mowing a lawn now, it doesn't make sense to spend more money on a bigger push mower. Just save up the money until you can get a 0-turn, because that's when your efficiencies come in. That's when it's going to be a lot easier for you on your body. Now it kicks on. I was completely wrong. I believe what the analogy is more like, me slinging trash into the dump trailer was like cutting the grass with scissors. And getting this rear load garbage truck, Kendall's foot was on the brake. That's what it was. It must not want anybody to be in the seat. And getting this rear load garbage truck is like getting a 0-turn lawnmower. It's night and day difference. It is so much nicer to pick trash with this thing. And I really appreciate all you folks in the comments who kind of steered me in this direction, because without your input, I don't know if I would have gone this direction. So again, thank you so much for all your input and the comments and sharing your knowledge, because there's a lot of folks out there in the garbage industry that watch these videos and are putting comments out that, man, they're just helping a ton. So now we're in a situation where this work is easier than I ever thought it could be because of this new garbage truck. Again, I don't know if it looks like that right now, but speaking to you from the present tense, I can tell you, yeah, it's a lot easier. Pretty much the only effort I have to go through now is moving the trash can from wherever the customer put it and then lining it up with that little hook. And then everything else is hydraulics doing the work, and then I'm moving an empty can. All of these cans have liners. The week that you're seeing, I knew I'd be getting a trash truck as long as nothing went wrong. But if something did go wrong, I still wanted liners in the cans in case I needed to pick them up manually with the dump trailer. So last week, the hurricane week, I still put liners in, even though I was relatively certain I would have a truck for the following week, just because it was a safer bet. I think it will be more enjoyable to watch the cans dump the trash starting next week, because those liners won't be blocking the view. I found that they block a lot of the view of the cans and the bugs and all the creepy crawlies and the grossness that comes out. So that should get better in following weeks as well. One thing that I want to make clear, I did buy this truck new. I think there was some confusion because when I filmed the footage from last week's video where I showed it to you, I filmed that last week. The garbage truck had already been used 3 times, and that was plenty of time for there to be scratches and gouges in the paint and, rust in some of those spots. So it looked perfectly clean because I clean it after every route, but I think some people thought that was the condition I bought it in. And it wasn't. It only had a couple 100 miles on it when I picked it up from the dealer, and no one had ever used it for any trash pickup. I don't know if I made that clear enough in the last video. Another question some folks had was how I purchased the truck. Like, what financial means did I use to do that? And so we'll talk about that a few moments. First, about the options that I had available to me, and then what I ended up going with. Baker County Trash Pickup LLC is the business entity we created a few months ago for this business. Getting any type of credit or loan for Baker County Trash Pickup LLC is impossible at this point because it's too new. And even if I could get someone who would go out on a limb, I wouldn't be able to get the amount of financing I would need for a $130,000 trash truck. The other downside of standard equipment financing is the length of term that's on the loan would vary, but it would mean I would probably be paying $2,500 to $3,500 a month for a loan like this. It would be an extremely high monthly payment with principal built into it and then also interest. But none of that matters because I can't get financing through Baker County Trash Pickup LLC anyways. It's just too new. So then that leaves, what about financing through Copper Creek Cuts, which is a sole proprietorship, which basically means it's me. Copper Creek Cuts and myself are pretty much the same as far as a business entity, a legal viewpoint. So then it's, okay, Brad Bear is trying to get financing through this. It's a business loan under Copper Creek Cuts, but it really falls under me. And while my credit is great, I probably make a lot less on YouTube than you think I do. So for the last several years, my cash flow has really just covered our bills. It's covered some savings, but it hasn't been like 2018, 2019, 2020 when I was getting millions of views a month and my channel was just going crazy. That, combined with the fact that I only work enough to pay the bills, which means I've got one day of maintenance mowing I do each week, stormwater management projects that roll in fairly infrequently. Every once in a while I'll have some sponsorships, like Jobber, somebody who's been working with me for the past year or so, and they've been great because they help me be able to make videos like this where I can focus on taking time away from actually making money in a business and entertain and possibly educate you guys because they chip in a little bit. All of it's much less than whatever you think it is. I don't know what you think it is, but I'm almost certain it's less than what you think it is, and probably by a large factor. That means that Copper Creek Cuts and Brad Bear didn't cash flow enough to qualify for a standard equipment loan for the garbage truck either. So traditional financing is out. Without getting too deep into our personal finances, we could have paid cash for this, but it would have been a tremendous blow to savings and long-term goals. So that was not really an option. So the only other tool that we had left to look at was a home equity line of credit. Now this was something that my wife and we initiated it, I think, a few years ago because we'd been looking at a long time, or looking for a long time, to try and get into like flipping a house. Like we really like the idea of buying a property, fixing it up, and selling it. So a home equity line of credit was one of the ways that we saw ourselves doing that. So we got one through a local bank, and we could never find any good deals. We don't know anything about flipping houses, so we had the sense to say, if we ever buy a house, it's got to be a tremendously good deal, because that's the only way we're ever going to make money on it. Because whatever we think it's going to cost to rehab, it's going to be much more, because we don't know what we're talking about. we could never find that good deal. But we still had the home equity line of credit. You'll have to take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I don't know if all home equity lines of credit work the same, but the way the one from our bank works is that home equity line of credit is open for the amount that they gave us. It is open for 15 years, which I think at this point we've got, 12 years left. And at the end of that 12 years, everything becomes due. Everything that I've borrowed becomes due. Until the end of that term, I only have to make interest-only payments on whatever the principal is. So that means if I borrowed $130,000 to purchase a garbage truck, I don't have to pay that $130,000 back until 12 years from now. And every month between now and the time it's paid off, I only have to pay an interest-only payment, which I think whenever we ran the numbers, it was a little over $1,000 a month, maybe between $1,000 and $1,100 a month. So instead of a $2,500 to $3,500 standard equipment loan payment, I have $1,000, $1,100 interest-only payment. I haven't even had it pull out yet, so I don't know how much it actually is. I'll update you in future videos. There's a couple of things that this is great, and there's a couple of ways this could be terrible. In the position I'm at, this was really the only choice I had for getting this garbage truck. Whether or not you think it was a good choice, a bad choice, whatever, you're entitled to your opinion, but this was really the only choice that I saw for getting this garbage truck. The other benefit to it is that because it's interest only, we've got less cash that we have to put out, especially for this first year while I'm growing the business. Like once I get 200 cans, we'll be pretty good as far as cash coming in. The issue is getting to that first 200 cans, right? And so I need a couple of months to grow this business, and having a lower payment is going to help me do this. I say a couple of months, I mean like a year. I need a year or two to really grow this business. And if that means that I've just got to pay $1,000 a month in interest and I can't make any principal only payments, that's okay with. Once that first 200 cans gets placed, that should cover all our expenses, our insurance, our truck payment. It should also replace what I make in my 1 day of maintenance mowing. So if I wanted to quit that, I could. And then we would go ahead and get another 200 cans. And then that should start making some profit that we can put towards paying down the principal of the garbage truck. That's the plan. The home equity line of credit could be a terrible idea if I don't ever make payments towards that, because if it's due in, I'm just going to use 10 years for easy numbers, and there's 120 payments between now and then that are $1,000 a month, that's 120 grand. And then at the end, the principal of $130,000 truck comes due. So I paid $250,000 for a $130,000 garbage truck, which is a terrible deal, right? That's not what I'm going to do, but I'm just trying to paint the picture of the worst case scenario. Now, there might also be some folks who say, well, no, the worst case scenario is you break your legs tomorrow, you can't ever work again, and you also can't sell the truck. No one will buy it at all. And then you're stuck with an asset that you can't make money, you can't sell, and you're still paying on. If all that were to happen, that's when we would just go ahead and say, well, this was a giant mistake, but we're going to get out from the debt, and we would go ahead and write a check for, the balance from our different accounts, and we would put it towards that home equity line of credit and just reset everything. It would be terrible financially, but we would do that, and then that way we wouldn't lose the house or anything. I don't think that's a likely scenario because the chance of that kind of injury is so low. The chance that no one would buy the truck for even, half of the amount or a fraction of it, that's not realistic. But I know somebody out there is going to say, well, no, that's the worst case scenario. You lose your house. At least the way things are looking right now, I don't foresee any possible scenario where we would lose our house or be forced into that position. Whether or not I'm wrong, hey, go ahead and click the subscribe button and follow along each week and find out. So we went to the bank and said, hey, we need a cashier's check against the home equity line of credit for 130 whatever thousand, 132, I think. They wrote that out to the name of the dealership. We took that check and took it to the dealership. And yeah, that's it. We drove home with the truck. So that's how we purchased the truck. Whether or not it was something you would do or whether you should do, I don't have any commentary on that. I'm just telling you what we did. So if you do have feedback on it, feel free to share it. But I mean, I'm not really looking for advice in that regard. And at this point, it's done. So if it's something where you have a burning desire to say, well, you shouldn't have done that because whatever. I mean, go for it, but it's done now. So there's no changing it. We're moving forward with this plan of action. At this point in the video, things should be running a little bit more smoothly. But what you will notice is I'm very inefficient as far as the way that I'm spending my time and when I'm walking back and forth, when I'm deciding to run the controls, and even where I'm leaving the controls. So the packer and the slide, which are the parts that I keep interacting with to smush the trash, those are designed so that you can push those levers in and they will stick, or you can pull them out and they will stick, and they will run in sequence, and it'll kick itself back out to neutral when it's done. And that's important because what it means is that as I am getting to a stop, I can push that packer open so that it is opening up as I'm going and walking to get the full trash can. And then when I come back and I start tipping the trash can, the garbage truck is already in a position to receive that trash. Then I tip it, and then I bring it back down off of the tipper, and then I go ahead and push both of those handles in, and that will bring the slide down and it'll sweep the packer in. During that time, I can walk the can back to where it belongs and then walk back to the truck. Then at that point, what I can do is pull both of those handles out, and the packer will sweep in and the slide will come up, and that's what smushes all the trash I just put in there, and then you can drive to the next stop. So that's something you'll see in future weeks, is the flow gets a lot better. And if you're looking at where I'm leaving the slide or the packer right now and you're saying that doesn't make any sense, it doesn't. That's just where I thought it would be good to put it, not knowing any better. But you'll see some refinement in that over the coming weeks. I keep seeing some folks asking about when am I going to make lawn care videos. This is Copper Creek Cuts, not the Baker County Trash Pickup channel. So I completely get that these are two separate things, but I'm not going to abandon a channel with 440,000 subscribers to go start a trash one. I would rather the 440,000 people subscribe now see if the trash is something they're interested in and opt to leave, rather than invite 440,000 people to go join a new channel. Because I can guarantee you that the number of people who will go join a new channel is a lot less than the ones who will just say, well, I'm not interested in this, I think I'll just leave and unsubscribe. And I get if you really want lawn care. I'm not saying that's never going to happen, but what it is looking like is that if the trash keeps picking up and I can spend 2 or 3 days a week working with my wife every day instead of mowing all day long, that might be the way we're going. We could see a future where Copper Creek Cuts, I don't do any work for that anymore, and I switch mainly to Baker County Trash Pickup. I don't think we're at a stage where that can be said for a certainty, but it is something that's possible. I hope everybody sticks around and watches these videos, because to me, I think they're pretty entertaining as far as seeing a business grow and what I'm learning and some of the gross things about it. I think there's some entertainment there. But if you're wanting entertainment from lawn care, I can definitely understand how you wouldn't be getting that from these kind of videos. So what you end up doing is completely up to you. No hard feelings either way. If you've tried watching the trash videos and they're just not for you, hey, thanks for giving it a shot. That's all I can ask you to do. One thing that's a little bit selfish, but I think I said it in a 50,000 subscriber special video, was that if people don't watch, I don't really want to make the content, because it takes a lot of time to film, the lawn care things. So if people stopped watching tomorrow, I probably wouldn't make those same kind of videos. And that's really what I've seen over the last few years, is people just don't watch my lawn care videos anymore. I had a ton of people asking for tall, overgrown grass, and I made one of those videos not too long ago, and it didn't really do that great. It certainly didn't make enough to justify, in my mind, the amount of time and effort that it put in. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that there's so many people now who are doing tall grass mowing videos, and the formula has changed. It's not enough to show the work. You've got to have some kind of drama behind it. You know, this is a point I've beat to death on this channel, and I'm not interested in talking about anymore either. But for the people who are really upset that I don't make the tall grass videos, it's just a combination of I don't get those calls anymore. I think part of that's a local Facebook group where, you know, people can post one thing and say, I need someone to cut my grass. And they'll have 50 responses, and half of those people are just, you know, people doing it on the side under the table kind of thing. That group didn't really exist when I first started this channel, and it has grown considerably over the years. So people have a ton of low cost options where they're not even ending up asking me. It's not even something where if they called me, I could say, hey, I'll do it for free. They never even get to calling me. They just go to this local group and say, hey, I need a cut. And, you know, they've got 50 people all underbidding themselves to try and get the job. Okay, that was a lawn care rant. How did I even get on that? Oh, I was talking about why I wouldn't do a second channel. Yeah. So as far as what the future holds, I really don't know, but those are some of the plans, and that's kind of what it's looking like. But again, you just have to follow along week by week, because I'm kind of doing this by the seat of my pants as it is. So we will both not know what the future holds together. Let's see, what else would you folks like to talk about? Oh, one very common comment. I always feel weird saying that, common comment. A lot of folks said when they saw the welding job that had been done to that truck, if they were in my position, they would have refused delivery of the truck and they would have walked away. Like, I'm not saying you're a liar, but if you were in my position, you would have driven 3 hours one way. It was closer to 4 because I think we had traffic issues and had to take a bathroom break at a rest area. Your wife and 2 young kids would have been with you. You would have been sitting for an hour at that point, and you would have had a 4-hour drive back. If you would have walked away, you wouldn't have a trash truck. The next Monday, which would have been 2 days away, you would have had to do the entire route that you were looking forward to doing with a garbage truck. You would have had to do all that manually again. And then you would have either had to go back to that dealer in Tampa, which would have been, you know, like another 24 man hours for the 4 of you, or you would have had to find a new dealer selling a different truck for tens of thousands of dollars more. So I completely get the principle of the idea where somebody says, if that happened to me, I would have walked away. But practically speaking, it wasn't worth it. And I think if you were in that situation, I really don't think, and I could be wrong because I don't know you at all. So this is Brad completely putting his values in your actions, which I have no right to do. But any reasonable person who was looking forward to running their business off of that truck, I don't think welding burns on one cosmetic panel would have been enough to torpedo that deal, or invest a whole nother wasted day, invest a whole nother day of manual pickup. It's just not worth it. If they would have broken something with the welding, yeah, it's just a plate. And once I start getting some money in the accounts, which hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll see, that is going to be one of the things I do. I'm going to go to the dealer and say, I'm going to call them. I'm not going to drive there. And I'm going to figure out how much it's going to be to ship a new panel. And I'm going to see if they'll do that. And if they will they cover any of the costs of it, since I'm not the one who damaged it? If they say no, I'll probably just eat it myself, because again, the couple $100 in whatever it is not worth. The thing about the world we live in, I'm going to go real philosophical here. The thing about the world that we live in is you can either be right. There are situations where you can either be right or you can just go with the flow. And this was a situation where I might have been perfectly in the right to raise a fit and say, this is not right that you guys did this. How are you going to fix it? Or I could have just said, well, this is stupid and it's a dumb situation, but I'm just going to go about my life. I don't think I articulated that as poetically as I thought I would. But I guess the point I'm making is there will be a lot of instances in your life where you can either say, no, I'm right and I deserve to be right and it's a hill I'm going to die on, which is completely up to you to decide when and where you want to do that. Or you can say, how can I make this go away in the easiest way possible so I can get back to my life and the things that really matter to me? And that's what I decided to do in this instance. It's just a cosmetic panel. I'm just going to ignore it for now. If I ever get some extra money, that's when I'll worry about trying to get it fixed. But at that moment, nothing was worth committing to another round trip to that dealer, and nothing was worth not leaving with that truck. And the disclaimer at the end of that rant is, that's my decision based on my values, my personal belief system. Your decision that's based on your values and your personal belief system, that's the one that matters for you. So what was the point of any of this discussion? I don't know. Like many of the videos on my channel, it's just a complete waste of time. But jokes aside, I just wanted to express why, walking away from the deal over that welding job, that wasn't ever really an option for me. All right, so that's the end of the first day, first route with the truck. We had some issues when we first started figuring out how to get the PTO to stay on. It was underpowered, it was stalling out and cutting off. Your foot has to be off of the brake pedal and you have to be in park. Once we figured that out, everything was super smooth, but we probably lost 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning trying that out. I don't have any way of knowing how full this thing is. We're just gonna have to go dump it and get an empty weight and kind of figure out from there. But this thing, it worked beautifully once we figured out that PTO thing. There's a ton of maggots and a ton of roaches. We're going to pressure wash this guy at the end of every week, so that's okay. But we're going to head to the landfill now and dump everything. So now let's go over our numbers for the week. I have not yet had a week where I haven't placed any cans. This is the week where I came the closest to a goose egg. We only had one new client and one new can. In a bit of better news, our truck seems to be a little bit more efficient, our garbage truck, than my Chevy does. We spent $24.12 in fuel, and of course, this is the first week we haven't used liners, so moving forward, there will be no more cost for liners. The income from all those cans is about $430. Our cost of fuel, $24.12, leaves us with a profit of $405.88. Despite the issues we had in the beginning that cost us time, because once I figured it out, the truck is quicker, we ended up spending exactly the same amount of time, 6.5 hours, this week that we did last week. Since there were two of us, that means we spent 13 man hours, which gives us an hourly rate of $31.22 per hour. I don't have a tool for that, and it's not really safe for me to get under there. Also, you may remember me saying I can't film at the landfill anymore. This was the only footage I ever got dumping at the landfill. And the reason I'm showing it is because it doesn't break any of the rules moving forward. There isn't any footage of the landfill, but you can see kind of how everything works here. There is some cleanup at the landfill that I haven't figured out how to do yet. I've got a couple of push brooms recently from Walmart. They were on clearance, so I picked those up, and I think those will help, but that's something I've got to refine moving forward as well. Cleaning this thing, I found it takes about an hour and a half or 2 hours to clean it after every visit, which is okay. I'm happy to do that because the thing is parked right next to my house, so it has to be clean. Like, there's no option of, do I have to clean it? Yes, you absolutely do. So however long it takes is however long it takes. If you're interested in that, that's something I'll show you the process of, so let me know in the comments. But as always, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next week.